Hello, everyone. I'm Ananda, the Galactic Mystic. Welcome to our final full moon of the year. This is the moon of the bubbling cauldron, and I am bursting at the seams to talk to you about this incredibly magical and quite galactic full moon. It is a dreary, cold, and rainy day here in the Appalachian Mountains, and I have my candles burning, simulating a hearth at my desk as I'm recording this for you. And I hope that you are comfortable, cozy, and ready to receive this message that I think it will feel very inspiring to you. So, if you are new to my channel, I do want to take a moment to welcome you. I'm Ananda. Um, I'm an astrologer, a mystic, and a folk witch. I have been walking this path for a very, very long time. I'm very passionate about sharing it. So, I am not going to dilly or dally. Let's get right into this. So let me pull up the chart for you. So this is our full moon chart. This is a Gemini full moon happening on December 7th, 2022 at 11:08 p.m. That is Eastern Standard Time. This full moon is at 16 degrees and 2 minutes of Gemini. Here is our moon and our sun opposition. Full moon is always a sun moon opposition. And this moon is exactly conjunct Mars. Now, there's a lot going on here, and I didn't receive the full spectrum of the message that I was to deliver about this full moon until just this morning. Sometimes it works like that. And once I received it, it seemed really obvious, which, isn't it like that sometimes? It's like, oh, yeah, of course, that's what it's about. But the truth is that this story has been developing for me for weeks now, weeks and weeks. And other people have played a part in helping me unravel this. Sometimes you're walking through life and you have conversations that are really fascinating, and you don't quite get the depth of what is shared until later when some dots are connected. That's how this was for me. And truly, that's really appropriate for this full moon. So this full moon is a culmination of the Gemini new moon we had back in May. That new moon was conjunct the fixed star Aldebaran. Aldebaran is a very special star. This is one of the fixed royal stars, one of the Behenian stars, and represents a portal to the mysteries of the mind. So if you think back to springtime, from that time until now, has something cracked open in your mind? Was there a lock that was, you finally found the key and you unlocked a treasure chest in your mind? Think on that and let me know in the comments if this has happened for you. I bet it has, even if it's subtle. It doesn't have to be completely mind-blowing to be valid and important. So that new moon, we planted a seed of opening a new portal in our mind. And this full moon is a culmination of that. This full moon is opposing the Great Attractor. The Great Attractor is one of the most important points when we're talking about galactic astrology or, working with mysteries in space that have a gravitational force on our lives. I do want to take a moment to explain something because whenever we're talking about these galactic points, there's a lot of confusion that I see out there. So the Galactic Center and the Great Attractor are not the same thing. They're two separate things. And the Great Attractor is not the greatest gravitational force that we know of. There is one that is more powerful in that way. So I'll just leave that there, but there tends to be a lot of confusion, and I often see people calling the Great Attractor the Galactic Center, and they are very different things. That being said, Venus is conjunct the Galactic Center on this full moon, but we'll get to that in a moment. The Great Attractor creates a feeling of destiny in our lives, and it gives us this kind of experience of looking down the road of our lives, and you just know that there's something right around the bend. There's something right around the bend, and you can feel it, you can taste it, you just can't quite see it yet. But let me tell you, my friends, we are very, very close to being able to see what is around that bend. And some of you may already be seeing it. A lot of, the moon and Mars have a very interesting relationship. On one hand, this is a volatile energy sometimes when they get together. Sometimes Mars is too brash for the moon's sensitivities. But there's a fertility that can be created here. There's a magic, a type of, there's a magnetic magic. And, when people have moon Mars aspects in their synastry, this is one of the places that it can be felt and seen the most, where it's like there can be these moments of real volatility, and then just this magnetic attraction at the same time. It's this spectrum of experience when the moon and Mars are interacting in a hard aspect like this, in a conjunction. So I want to tell you a story. This is the way that Spirit told me to explain how this full moon can be used in our lives. So in the Druid tradition, storytelling is very important to really all indigenous cultures. It's how their wisdom is passed down. And even though so much of these oral traditions have been lost, their stories, we still have many of these stories. And in these stories, there is encoded wisdom, but only for those who have ears to hear and eyes to see. It isn't for everyone. The story I want to share with you that is exactly the energy of this full moon is the story of Cerridwen and her cauldron. I'm going to really paraphrase this and be very basic and short with this story. But basically, Cerridwen is a moon goddess, and she wanted to create the elixir called Awen, Awen. And Awen is like this source of inspiration from the gods. It's a divine substance, and she's creating it. She wants to brew it to give to her child. So what happens is, she goes and gets the recipe from the druids, and she has to gather all the ingredients, and all the ingredients have to be gathered at a specific time under a certain lunar phase, under certain energies. And so she gathers all the ingredients and she puts them in her cauldron. And then she has some helpers who help her, who take care of the cauldron for a year and a day, and then the elixir is created. Now a whole other thing happens, but this is the part of it that is connected to this full moon. That process of gathering, foraging, hunting, you know, getting your skills, your ingredients together, putting them in the cauldron, which is, in this case, the moon. It is the womb of the goddess, the womb of creation. The fire underneath the cauldron is Mars here. We can't have the cauldron. We can't make the magical elixir without the fire, without the hearth. And this is the gift of the masculine in this story, one of the gifts. And this full moon has a very masculine energy to me. And I've really been feeling this for a while now. It's this energizing support. Both the act of gathering, hunting the ingredients feels very masculine to me, and the fire underneath the cauldron, heating it up and creating the actual alchemy. And the moon is the container, the feminine womb, the holder of the magic. The sun in this case is our awareness of this process. So this moon is telling us, you know, what have you got cooking? What are you cooking? What's in your cauldron? If you like, if you like what is cooking, stoke that baby, stoke that fire, and keep going. If you want to make changes before we come around the curve and see what's around the bend, now is the time to add maybe a little bit of this, take out a little bit of that, slow down the boil, speed up the boil. What alterations does your cauldron need right now? Now, with Venus at the Galactic Center, this speaks of the delay. But in this delay, we are being blessed. Things are being corrected. They're being loved on. And it's a stream of cosmic wisdom, a stream of cosmic love that we can pour or allow to enter our cauldron. Now, Gemini is a mutable sign. Mutable signs are about magic, transmutation, transformation, and change. This is a very powerful moon, you guys. The potential for creating new things in our lives is absolutely unlimited. The ruler of Gemini, Mercury. Mercury has just entered Capricorn. And when Mercury was, in the last degrees of Sagittarius, he made an exact square with Jupiter. That square served to expand our vision, to help us see more of what is possible. And with that square, Mercury moved into Capricorn, which is this blessing of, okay, now we can make it real. We can bring it into our reality. And there's more, my friends. Mercury is conjunct Polaris Australis. And if you have been following my work for a while, you know this is one of my absolute favorite stars in the sky. This star is so magical and carries the energy of bringing exactly what I just said, bringing wisdom, knowledge, or even real things from the etheric realms, from the other worlds, from the cosmos, and bringing them right here, making it real. Stay tuned in to your inner traveler, to your spirit guides, to your gods and goddesses, to your spirit council, because messages are flowing. Receive them. Don't require that they make sense right now, because Venus reminds us there's a little bit of a delay. And in this divine, sacred delay, oh, the cauldron's bubbling. I'm so about this. Jupiter, who is squaring Mercury, is in the very last degrees of Pisces. And he is about to step over the creative threshold into Aries, where we will really begin to pick up some steam. And at that time, when that happens, there's no stopping us. What are you creating? I really want to know. One more thing I do want to mention is right here. Pallas Athena is exactly conjunct with with mean Black Moon Lilith. This is the Black Moon Lilith that moves slowly and, in a reasonable, predictable manner, like planets do, even though this is not a physical astrological object. Black Moon Lilith is conceptual. But regardless, these two are conjunct. And there is a message here that we need to hear. And this message is about how clear are we about where we need to bend, acquiesce, compromise, and where do we not need to do that? Where is it someone else's deal, someone else's job to do the bending, the compromising? It's important that we know the truth of this for ourselves as individuals. It's up to us to know, where do I bend and where do I not bend? Where have I done too much bending? Because let me tell you, what's in this cauldron? When this is done brewing, you want this part of it to be right for you. You don't want to be creating a magical elixir. I'm using that as a metaphor. But you don't want to be creating something new in your life that has the energy imprint of an imbalance in giving and receiving. We want that to be imbalanced. So let's take a moment during this full moon portal and think about that. Where am I giving too much? Where am I maybe not giving enough? And be very honest with yourself. One more thing I want to share with you, kind of about this full moon, but really about the whole month of December. If you look at this chart, you'll see these. Well, let me pull it up. So if you look at this chart right here, this is for all of December. You can see here 12/1 to 12/31. And, you see these three spikes? This chart shows sort of the flow of these different harmonics, planetary harmonics. And I'm not going to get into how we figure these out and all of that, but I do want you to see that we have these three very obvious spikes in what is called the 13 vibration, harmonic 13. So this first one is on the 9th. This second one looks like 16, 17 on the 18th. And then this final one is on the 29th. Now, some people feel these 13 vibration spikes very powerfully, and it can feel like a dark cloud of doom, like just blanketing you in just uncomfortable energy. And it's at these times that it's important to know that sometimes when we feel a darkness overcome us, or we feel anxiety or fear and we're not sure why, sometimes it's not about us. It's just an energy we are feeling. And I want you to know that these are happening, so that if you or other people around you experience that darkness come over them and they can't explain why, this could be why. Sometimes this energy is felt several days before or several days after the peak. But just something to know that the energy of the collective can be very heavy during these times. But ultimately, this is an energy of transformation. It gives us an experience of really wanting to change, really wanting things to change. And sometimes what happens in order to get us to that feeling of wanting to change is really uncomfortable. So this is a part of the mix, and I just wanted to let you know that. Another way to think of this metaphor with the cauldron, bee energy tells the same story. One of my members in the Deep Divers community was sharing how they also had been, feeling bee energy come into their lives, and how it felt very masculine to them. And when I felt into bee energy, it felt very feminine to me. And through our sharing, I was like, oh my God, it's everything. The bee collecting pollen, pollinating the flowers, that is very masculine. And then it brings all of that to the hive, which is like the womb. That's the cauldron where everything is transformed and created. And then the result is the magical elixir of honey. It's really cool. It's really cool to think of it like that. We have this, the number 3 is sacred. It just is. And so these are all things for us to ponder for this full moon. What is in your magical cauldron? I really want to know. Happy full moon. My heart is with you. I will see you very soon.